So, Bills could either be the second seed next week or they could miss the playoffs altogether. They get the win over this terrible Patriots team. Where's your confidence in them right now?
It's not great. And, you know, I got to keep it real with the Bills fans out there.
The mafia.
The mafia. At 6-6, I said they had a shot to make the playoffs. Now I'm going to come off as a Bills hater. But you look at this 4-game win streak, and I look at this Bills offense, and I don't think they're playing well enough. And that's just facts. And the reality is, if they want to win and beat Miami, they're going to have to score points. And I think the most concerning thing is the lack of ball security this team has week in and week out is unbelievable. Again, another pick here. In this play, you're up 6 points, fourth quarter. Yes, it's 3rd and 5. I get it. Look at the football. Boom. Fumble. You're lucky that you fell on this thing because you're basically trying to give the ball back in your own territory to the Patriots. And it's plays like that that just make me cringe because I don't know what it is, but this Bills team seems to just play at a very, very poor level fundamentally at all the wrong times. And you look at today's game, and they won by 6. The Patriots missed 2 field goals. Bailey Zappi looked awful in the first half. Like, this should have been another blowout.
Yep.
But instead, it comes down to the end of the game.
And so next week, next Sunday night, it's for the division title against the Dolphins, who give up 56 points on Sunday. And yet still, despite that, and despite the fact that we saw Tua Tagovailoa appear to be injured at the end of that game, says he's okay, you still like Miami over Buffalo next week?
I do. I mean, there's a variety of reasons. First and foremost, it's in Miami. Secondly, you look at the Patriots in their 4-game win streak. You got a win against Kansas City. We all know the infamous toe.
Yep.
You have a great win against Dallas. Your quarterback completed 7 passes in a torrential downpour. Then you played Easton Stick and Bailey Zappi, and you snuck by both of them.
Yep.
Tua is not going – he's not Bailey Zappi. I don't care if Waddle's back or not. They're going to score points. I think the defense of the Bills are going to have a hard time with Miami. And now you can say, well, Luke, Miami just got smoked by Baltimore. Jay, who hasn't got smoked by Baltimore? We all thought San Francisco, we were just going to let them walk right to the Super Bowl. They got smoked by Baltimore.
That's right.
The Lions are a good team. They've been smoked by Baltimore. The Seahawks, I thought were good until today. They've been smoked by Baltimore. Baltimore smokes everybody. And my point is, you look at this Bills team right now. They got to go on the road. They have not played well offensively. They turn the ball over at an alarming rate, and they get lucky in a lot of situations like we just saw. And defensively, like I said, they're not going to be facing Easton Stick, and they're not going to be facing Bailey Zappi. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Bills Mafia. I don't feel great about them next week.
It's the fact that the Eagles have lost 4 of 5. They had to come back last week in the fourth quarter just to beat a not great Giants team. Now they're the 5th seed in the NFC. Is there any hope for this team at this point?
At this point, there's hope because they're wildly talented.
Yeah.
But my goodness, are things bad, and it's across the board. And what's strange to me is it's got to be, when I look at this team, it has to do with their coaching because they are so talented. I mean, offensively, great offensive line. The receiving core is incredible. You saw A.J. Brown there. I love the tight end, Dallas Goedert. They've got a great runner in Swift. Hurts was an MVP candidate at this point, was supposed to be the favorite. They have zero identity. It's take shots. I mean, we're watching them. Hey, we're just going to throw it down the field, hope one of our guys makes a great play. And then defensively, it's even more shocking. I understand that the secondary has some issues, and it has all year. But to be gashed for over 200 yards by the Cardinals today, when your front 4 consists of Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, I mean, you got Fletcher Cox in there. Hassan Reddick is a great player. Josh Sweat. I mean, the list goes on. And Brandon Graham's a vet. You just got Shaq Leonard from the Colts.
Yep.
What is going on? Jay, this team on paper is incredible. And they're getting beat by bad teams. It's hard to fathom. And I mentioned it, coaches.
Yep.
Remember, the Eagles lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator last year. They played their defensive coordinator, the head coach of the Cardinals.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, Sean Desai comes in. They've gotten rid of him already as the play caller. Matt Patricia.
Here comes Patricia.
He's done a horrible job.
It's not been great.
I mean, he's played 3 games. He gave a 92-yard drive and a loss against Seattle in a 2-minute drive. The next week, they are losing to Tommy DeVito and then Tyrod Taylor. And then today,
barely come back.
Yes, and they get shelled by the Cardinals.
Arizona Cardinals. Yeah.
And
you can see why A.J. Brown didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't want to say something he would regret.
I feel his pain.
Yeah.
Because even offensively, Brian Johnson, the OC, first year there, he's been a quarterback coach, but first year as the OC. Jay, when you're A.J. Brown, you're that talented, and you walk in the facility every day and you see the guys that are around you are also that talented, and you have performances where you guys, I think they rushed for 97 maybe, threw for 167. It's like, how does that happen? Again, they have no weakness. Well, at least theoretically on paper, they have no weakness.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you went from being a team that could have potentially got the 1 seed, depending on how San Fran does with the Rams next week, to being on the road the whole way.
It's tough to be a Philly fan.
It's tough.
Right now, in the NFC.
Oh, gosh.
Rams are in the postseason. Packers move into that 7th and final spot. They'll make the playoffs with a win over Chicago in Week 18. If they lose and the Seahawks beat the Cardinals, Seattle would move past them. Bucs face Carolina next weekend. If they win, they take the NFC South. If they lose, Saints beat Atlanta. New Orleans is in. It's complicated, but we showed you the Steelers in Seattle. They could still get in if they beat the Cardinals next week and the Packers lose next week, but certainly not a performance you'd expect in that loss today.
Jay, you think of Seattle.
Yeah, that was a rough one for the Seahawks.
And you come off a 2 weeks ago, 2-minute drive, Drew Lock, magical moment, you beat the Eagles.
The post-game interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
2-minute drive the next week, you beat the Titans.
Yep.
You're at home against Mason Rudolph, and you basically win this thing. You control your destiny. You're going to the playoffs. And you're playing a team, either the Dallas Cowboys, who you lost to by 3, or the Detroit Lions, who you've beaten earlier in the year. Both great teams, but teams you can obviously match up with.
You can hang with.
And instead, Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers, come into your building and punch you square in the face, and they continually punch you. And it's just one of the biggest beatdowns the Seahawks have taken that I've seen in a long, long time, especially in this moment. I mean, Mason Rudolph threw for 274. They ran for 202. It was a bloodbath if you're a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Broke my heart. And now you're going to need a lot of help next week, and I got a feeling that they're not going to get that help and that they're going to miss the playoffs.
And you've had the season that nobody expected, and it was going into this week, it was like everything felt so good if you're a Seahawks fan, and now it's like this one loss kind of ruins the whole season.
Mason Rudolph came into our own building.
Yeah.
This is a Pittsburgh Steelers team that lost to New England, the Colts, and Arizona in consecutive weeks, not in that exact order.
No, it's not good.
And they just smoked us.
So the Chiefs come back on 18 straight points off field goals to beat this Bengals team, locking down that 3rd seed in the AFC. Do you believe, Luke, that Patrick Mahomes and this offense, and I know seeing that Marquez Valdez-Scantling drop isn't going to give you tons of confidence, but do you think that they can flip a switch and turn it on for the postseason?
Jay, this is going to pain me to say because it goes against my whole fundamental football thing, but I actually do. You know, you look at the mistakes that this team is making, and I think there's some sort of bad curse, or in the Italian culture, they've got the malocchio. These things are so easily correctable, yet they do it week in and week out. You just saw MVS drop a 3rd down pass. He had a ton of space around field. Kelsey there, tough catch still. Probably could have caught it. Maybe he turns upfield. And again, this isn't 3rd down, but this is a huge play in the game that you want an NFL receiver to make. If this game would have went differently, you would have been pointing at that moment thinking, hey, that could have been a game-changing moment.
For sure.
But that being said, you look at these plays, and it's not the Bengals. It's solely physical mistakes by the Chiefs. And that's why I think they can, you know, turn it around still, even though it's this late in the year, Jay, is it's not one of those things where the timing is really off, or guys aren't open, or they can't seem to just figure out what's going on. They don't look like they're confused. They just keep messing up.
Right.
Which at this level, you would think that they'd be able to figure out. Again, it's been week in and week out of drops. But I do believe that the defense is stout. They can, you know, stop teams. And Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. So as we haven't seen it, it pains me to say it, but I do think that this team can be dangerous in the playoffs.
We shall see.